It's Mannin Line
with Andy Wint.
This is the Nation Station, Manx Radio. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Faster Mike, good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line. Here we are, just 2 weeks before TT starts. Pre-TT starts a week this Friday. I'm not kidding. A week this Friday, it all gets underway. Here we are in the calm before the storm. So anything you want to chat about? What do you think about Julie Edge saying that government workers must be held to account for failings? Which government workers, I wonder? And what do you think about Barry Murphy calling on the government to improve fairness for air passengers? Any thoughts? Lots to chat about. Did you hear they've been counting the wallabies as well in the north? Any idea how many wallabies? And David's first on today. Hi, David.
I can confirm there's no wallabies in Onken at the moment.
Well, not in daylight anyway.
Well, there was a few years ago. There was a video in the centre of the village, and I can say this hand on heart, and it just looked like a wallaby, but the jury's still out. But I wanted to talk about planning, and if Stephen was listening too, who's been a big voice there in the Westmoreland Road development there, and I can't go to the meeting tonight. I'd love to have gone to the meeting tonight to ask some questions on that. So all I can do is do it through Manx Radio and say, Andy, the land is owned by several parts of government, but indirectly it's owned by government in general, if you see what I mean there. So health, the piece of land, the school was knocked down, Board of Education, the nurses' home, stuff like that. And I wonder, and I can't get my head around it, why the application hasn't been called in by the Council of Ministers to go to an inspector. Because usually, and the norm is, that when land is owned by government or they have an interest in it and the Manx Development Company is promoting it, which has an interest in it, and there's all these legal documents that hang around it from different departments passing things over to them, there's a direct, I would say, a direct conflict of interest. So how can the application be tested fairly if it's not done by an independent inspector?
When you say different parts of government, which parts of government own which bits? Well,
for a start there, I would say anyway, the taxpayer owns the land anyway, but anyway, it's under custody from Health Service. So if you look at the old nurses' home there, and you come further up, they bought some of the land there, the school was there, that's the Board of Education, and there's other bits round at the back that were doctors. The doctors used to live in the houses there when it went round the corner there. So I believe there's a direct involvement there. And I give praise to Stephen and Stephen Pitts, who's holding a meeting tonight at Trinity there, to flesh out all this information to say, why are they doing things different than it would be a normal application somewhere else? And why do we not have to have car parking spaces? You can't tell me you're going to have a law which says because you live in a certain area, the main road, you can't have a car.
I just wonder how, this was mentioned last week, how on earth are they going to police that? What are they going to do, knock on people's doors?
Well, it'll be the first thing. It'll be a camper van there for a start, and they won't be able to move it. It'll be there forever and a day, and there'll be other heavy vehicles that'll be in the area there, and they can't do much about that. And I just wondered, when they're trying to do something new and brand new and something that we haven't done before, and you look at the plan of it, my thing is about, are people going to walk backwards and forwards to town, or even if they've got a job, they want to move right round the island, so what are we going to do to give them all an electric bike or a sidecar if they're a family?
Well, everybody can have their say. 7 o'clock tonight it is, Rosemount Trinity School Room, 7 o'clock.
Yeah, and I hope the council itself there has a good input into it, because the local authority is there to protect an interest. that they may never get elsewhere, if you see what I mean. But my biggest thing on this one is it should have went to an inspector. An independent person there could have had all the views and give that independent views without having to make sure that, because I'm in the Manx Development Corporation, I've got to follow the policy, what government says.
And also, let's hope, the worst thing that could happen is, I don't want to jinx it, but if this doesn't go off absolutely perfectly, as in the development, that we suddenly start retrofitting it and we start doing stuff after the event. So the whole thing becomes a compromise. It would be nice, I wish them all the best. I do hope this actually works, if they know what they're talking about and they can educate us all as to how it should happen. At the moment, it all seems a bit foggy.
It does, and I feel sorry for the people that live in and around the area. There's a big school there now, and there's people complaining they can't park at night. They've got miles away. You can imagine what it's going to be like when there's permits there. We're going to have traffic wardens there and all the other people that's going to be running around the streets to make sure nobody parks anywhere.
And also, at the end of Domain Road, there's a very popular general store. There's a spa, the old Hanley's place at the end of Domain Road is there, and that's busy from dawn till dusk.
And there's a bowling green there too, which is owned by the corporation, in custody for the people of the town or city. They should be banging their drum saying it's got to have green areas. I don't see much green areas where kids can enjoy a bit of grass to play. And where are the swings?
Maybe they'll take over the tennis courts.
Let's wait and see.
All right, thanks for that.
People, get out there and say something. Bye.
All right, good to hear from you. You're invited tonight to Rosemount Trinity Schoolroom. A public meeting is going to be held in central Douglas concerning this planning application for Westmoreland Road, the proposals for the village-style development unveiled by the Manx Development Corporation, this at-arms government department at arm's length. 133 homes, 20,000 square foot of office space and 4 retail units will be there. Now, there's been meetings before about this, but one tonight is chaired by a man who knows of what he speaks. Long-time Douglas councillor Stephen Pitts will be chairing the meeting. And the 2 Douglas Central MHKs, Anne Corlett and Chris Thomas, will be there. You're more than welcome to pitch up, have your say, have your voice heard tonight, 7 o'clock at the Rosemount Trinity Schoolroom, if you want to see exactly what's happening. And best to have your say now before it all happens. But your thoughts on the matter, by all means, text, email, call and WhatsApp if you want to have your say on this. I don't know whether you've heard about Julie Edge, who's been saying she chaired the whistleblowing committee, and Julie Edge MHK, one of the Onken MHKs, wants to see action. Changes, she says, are needed to ensure that government workers are accountable for their failings, i.e., if you muck up, you'll be held accountable. She chaired this committee. It was during the last administration, but she chaired the committee following the tribunal's decision to award Dr. Rosalind Ranson, the island's former medical director, £3.2 million in compensation plus costs. She was fired for whistleblowing. There have been calls for those responsible to face consequences. Now, we don't actually know whether those who were responsible are still in post, in government, on holiday, in limbo, or where they are. But Julie Edge says the blame shouldn't always fall on politicians.
We have to make sure that any failings with officers going forward can be held to account. Certainly that's not the case at the present time. So, of course, Phil, you come in as a political member representing the people for 5 years, and this is all about people's money. We need to make sure that if there is any errors that were due to failure in the policy, following policy or procedure and the governance, that people have to be held to account. You can't just hold ministers to account because it happens further down the chain. And we've got some excellent people working in government, and I don't want to see people working with their heads down. I want to see them confident individuals working in an organisation that they understand the rule book, which is policy, procedures and process, and they're able to follow them confidently for the people of the island.
You are elected every 5 years, as indeed are all of your other 23 colleagues in the House of Keys. Do you think the public are prepared to wait as long as it's already taken, let alone a further potentially 6 months, 12 months investigation to get answers to some of these problems? And ultimately, while you're all focused on this particular issue, there are other major significant problems that the Isle of Man's facing at the moment as well.
That's my point, really. We've had previous cases where addressing the changes that need to come forward through that whistleblown committee recommendations. We've started on it, we've implemented some of them, but there's some real key issues that the island is facing. I do completely understand that the public have elected all of us into here. The public need to see that the work that is being delivered is the right work. Everybody's working hard on the island for this island, and that includes us politicians. And what we need to do is stand up, be accountable, not look for the next vote, make the tough decisions that are made for this island. Whistleblowers will always come forward, I hope, and have the confidence to come forward. But we can't stop here. We've got to make sure that anybody in the public sector is confident in the workplace, confident to report and not receive any behaviour that's detrimental to them or to the public purse.
Text, email, call and WhatsApp. What do you think about that? That, as Julie Edge says, that government workers must be held to account for failings. She's hedging her bets in many ways. At what level, for how long, and how long after the fact? Is there some sort of statute of limitations? What exactly, and how do you class failure? What is failure? An overspend? Is it a muck-up? Who's going to decide what's what? A note in from Ian just said on Mannin Line last week, one participant put forward that the Forestry Board and private individuals should remove or destroy ivy present on trees. This was John Curtis. Last week we did a net zero programme with Andrew Langan-Newton from the Green Party. And John Curtis said that we should be taking ivy off trees because it shortens their lives. Well, Ian said, I'd like to point out that the reasons stated by the interviewee are wrong. Please refer to a webpage on the Horticultural Society, which apparently says this is wrong. Thanks for that, Ian. Good to hear from you. Well, if you go to John's website, it's on there, the fact that rotting trees throughout the world emit more carbon dioxide than just about anything else. And if you can stop trees dying, and one of the ways that John says you stop trees dying is by getting rid of the ivy. But I've had several other messages on that, which I'll come to. I mentioned this a while back, says this Big John in Laxey. Could you ask listeners to get the raft back in Ramsey Bay? It was awesome swimming out to it, but they haven't put it out this year. Where's the raft gone in Ramsey Bay? And a message in from Ian, who just said, we have frozen bank accounts of Russians and any associated accounts in our need to virtue signal that we support Ukraine, sending aid, lighting blue and yellow lamps. So why is the Isle of Man sending delegations to South Africa who've recently held joint naval exercises with Russia? Only recently, the CIA's made a statement suggesting South Africa is sending arms to Russia. Is this hypocrisy? Do you know that for a fact, Ian? If you can send me the details of that, is South Africa sending arms to Russia? And also a message regarding something that's gone AWOL, apart from the raft in Ramsey Bay. Do you know where that is, by the way? Has anybody got it? And is the one out in Laxey as well? Where's the Archallagan Spider play park, apparently? DEF has removed some of the timber play items. Apparently, due to their age and deterioration, the original play park was designed by the Isle of Man Children's Centre and built by volunteers 9 years ago, 2014. It was remodelled in 2016 with the help of Zurich volunteers when a spider sculpture was introduced by John Dog Collister with the help of Nick Barlow. Apparently it's gone. The Spider Play Park has just about gone from Archallagan. The department's reviewing the recreational offer at Archallagan. Do you get that? They're reviewing the recreational offer. That means they're thinking about rebuilding the play park and hopes to install a new provision in the coming months. Which months, we don't quite know, but Claire Barber's going to be on a week today from DEFA, so we'll find out. More messages to come to regarding lots of messages regarding recent correspondence, and we'll get to those in a moment.
This year's Mental Health Awareness Week theme is anxiety. This is a reminder that just because you think it doesn't make it true. Often our negative thoughts are not a reflection on the truth.
Ramsey Crookall, supporting Mental Health Awareness Week on your nation station, Manx Radio.
This is for Mannin Line, says, Anne, I just found out that my pension increase is not 10.1% as promised. It's only been applied to the basic amount and not included with the Manx supplement. I checked out on the government budget statement. It clearly says Isle of Man will be following the UK on this, and the increase will be 10.1%. It doesn't say it wouldn't include the Manx supplement. The increase is in real terms somewhere in the region of 7%. Yet another lack of transparency which will impact on a lot of people who can least afford it. Thanks from Am. Now, regarding the airports, on fairly soon on Manx Radio, Gary Cobb will be on talking about the airport. He's the airport director. He'll be allied with, on the same programme, Chris Thomas, the infrastructure minister, on is our airport going up or down in terms of quality, in terms of service. If you use the airport, I'm guessing you have an opinion on whether things are getting better or things are getting worse. Does more support need to be available to air passengers who are left stranded after flights are cancelled? Well, a petitioner, Barry Murphy, is calling for DOI to make significant improvements to the airport after his family was unable to land at Ronaldsway due to it being fogged in. Mr. Murphy wants the government to urgently speak with airlines to ensure that the Isle of Man and its residents are treated in a decent, and his words, humane manner when cancellations and delays occur. He says that ignoring the situation just simply can't go on.
Flew over the top of Ronaldsway, from what I understand. Then there was an announcement by the pilot that the airport was essentially closed, and the second one was something to do with fog. 40 minutes later, we were back underground in Gatwick. I did get the impression that some people had probably come across this problem before. People seem to be very good sort of sitting there, pressing buttons on phones and stuff like that. Because when you're with two children, and they get very stressed and very tired, and of course very worried because they're back to where they started. And what I had to do in the end was basically accept a flight to return to the Isle of Man on Saturday in order to get a hotel. Now, I would have thought, of course, that the hotel would have come first. Then we could have looked at alternative methods. So I had a very urgent appointment. I needed to get back. So in my case, between hiring a car, driving to Liverpool, that was a one-way drop, which was expensive, putting the fuel in the car, and then getting four-foot passenger tickets on the steam packet, I'm out of pocket at the moment for £400. But the impression I'm getting from EasyJet customer services is that because I accepted this flight on Saturday to come back to the Isle of Man in order to get a hotel for the night to stop my little girl from crying, I might not be entitled to anything back. And what I'm saying is, or what I'm requesting to the DOI minister, is to simply look for a short period of time, or however long it takes, to sort out these issues at the airport, to possibly just provide some kind of a subsidised price for passengers who have absolute no other method of getting back to the Isle of Man, or even vice versa if they need to get back to England urgently. There has to be something better than people like me having to find £400 in order just to return back to the Isle of Man. I haven't got £400 to just pay out like that just because we have a problem at the airport with air traffic control because of fog or any other reason. That's somebody else's problem, but that problem shouldn't be becoming my problem like it did the other night and everybody else's problem. If it was a one-off problem or maybe a couple of times a year, that wouldn't be too bad. But the reality is that people are losing confidence in flying, and I have lost confidence in flying. So it's really just to bring it back into the political forefront, to request the DOI minister to just simply have a look and see if there's anything that he can do or the government can do to just look after the people of the Isle of Man. It's not good enough for a government to constantly bang on that businesses should be providing a good customer service. The airport has to provide a good customer service. The reality is that the airline haven't provided it. Yes, I'm aware that the government, the DOI, have been implementing intelligent lighting systems and are trying to sort out air traffic control situation. But that doesn't bring any resolutions for passengers when they're stuck on the ground, in my case with 2 young children or elderly people. And it's not a good thing, you know, and it's been going on for too long.
Well, this has happened to many people. If you fly with any great regularity, I'm guessing at some point you've had a flight cancelled. Obviously, if you're heading from the Isle of Man, it's not that much of a hassle. But if you're heading back to the Isle of Man and you're stuck at an airport at Birmingham or Heathrow or London City or at Gatwick, then you've got problems, big problems sometimes. In fact, on Saturday there was a Gatwick cancellation and that was because there was a suspected drone seen close to Gatwick. Operations were suspended Saturday afternoon there. It was only for about an hour, but it meant that there was a disruption towards the Isle of Man. Now, we've always had problems. Problems come in aviation. There are coincidences, there are happenstance, there are problems just pop up in aviation. Now, is it the government's or the airlines or the airport's job to sort it out? Any thoughts? Text, email, call and WhatsApp. Ken's on now. Hi, Ken.
Good afternoon. I'm going to repeat myself from a conversation we had, I think, 12 months ago with IOM Energy.
Oh, my word.
OFT have got in touch with them, and somebody phoned me up and said, the reason why you haven't had any manual bills is because you've signed up for e-billing, online. I said, yes. I haven't had one of those. Oh, you should have done. No, I can assure you. See, the last bill I got was a manual one in December covering November. And it's the same thing. We're going back 12 months, these problems. So she's going to contact their IT section to override what's on the computer so they can send me out 3 or 4 manual bills. I just don't know how they're making any money.
And did you sign up for e-billing?
Yes. Oh, yes. And when I print them off, I can tell you because I print them off in black and white, whereas the ones that come in the post come with blue colouring. So the last one I had was April last year on e-billing, and we had the conversation 6 months ago, and the OFT went through, and so I got 3 manual ones in the post. But the last one I've had is for up to December, and she's trying to sort it out. I'm just wondering how many other people are having problems.
So how many other people have signed up for... Do you get your e-bills anyway?
No.
Oh, so you haven't been getting your e-bills, you've been getting manual paper ones?
Manual ones. Only when I pointed out I haven't been getting e-bills.
And what did they say when you told them that?
Oh, there's something wrong with the IT system.
Well, and whose fault's that?
Well, I'm sure it's the same lady that said it 12 months ago.
Oh, well, I wonder how many people she's saying that to.
Well, yeah, she's only reacting to the OFT who's got in contact with them.
So what's the situation now? When will you start getting your e-bills? Do you know?
No. Don't know. Because they say there's something wrong with the system. Still.
Something wrong with the system?
I don't pay by direct debit, so we don't use much gas, so I take sad person I am, I take a weekly reading and notify them when the rate changes.
Right.
But how are they making money? They're employing people to answer the phone in England somewhere rather than the Isle of Man. They go through a call centre.
Oh, do you know where the call centre is?
No, I don't. No. But I'm just wondering how many other people are still having problems.
All right, we'll find out, Ken. Thanks for calling today.
Okay, cheers.
All right, good to hear from you. So, have you asked for e-bills from IOM Energy and aren't getting e-bills? How many ordinary bills are you getting? And if anybody chats to the call centre, just ask them where they are. Whereabouts in England are they? More messages. This is one regarding what Barry said today. And this is Texter 505 says, we pay a premium to live on the Isle of Man. Surely if people don't like it, they aren't held here by police. They can freely leave to live elsewhere. Let's just be nicer, says Roy. This is concerning the Barry Murphy talking about the airport. Barry, do you remember, Barry's also been a petitioner about Manx Gas, Isle of Man Energy as well. Well, he's talking about the airport now, saying that there should be a system whereby if flights are cancelled, that the airport or the government should be treating people in a more humane way. So, well, we turn to the man who knows of what he speaks in this, the infrastructure minister. It's Chris Thomas, MHK. So what, if anything, can be done?
Well, we have low visibility problems, especially around this time of year when the temperatures are changing. So what can we do about that? Well, firstly, we can upgrade the airport system. So we've had the instrument landing system upgraded. I identified a figure of approaching £2 million for the next stage to begin to move at least one end of the main runway to Cat 2. So that's something we can do to help airlines, passengers get into the island more often than they can at the moment.
Okay, so the petitioner wants the DOI to provide subsidised prices for those that are affected by the delays and cancellations. He says he's paid £400, which, given he was within Manx airspace before turning around, I'd imagine that is fairly frustrating.
Airlines are private businesses. The Isle of Man government owns the steam packet, although it is an arm's length operation and sets its own prices, but its prices are set inside a thing called the Sea Services Agreement. That Sea Services Agreement was set 2019 or thereabouts, and it's subject to 5-year review. So we can look at all of the pricing for ferries at least when we come to decide whether or not to review the Sea Services Agreement, and if so, how we're going to review it.
But for flights more specifically, is it possible for government to have some sort of partnership or agreement with airlines?
We do, in the sense that we negotiate landing fees, we negotiate other aspects of the service that's provided. We do. It's well known that we have a contract with one airline for certain routes. We have patient transfer service, so we pay a lot of money for our airline services. But ultimately, passengers buy tickets from airlines and fly according to those airlines' terms and conditions. You can shout away at airport staff, but ultimately you put your baggage with an airline, and who engages a baggage company. The premium lounge in the Isle of Man airport's more often closed than it's open, and that's something that's provided by the airlines for their travelling passengers.
And just lastly, Barry said he was losing confidence in flying and said others are too. Is that something that you would say is accurate?
I do have noticed that it seems like many more people do travel by sea, and we are looking at the figures very closely to see if that's the case. Look, basically, living on an island, certain things really matter, and one of those things is getting on and off the island, and so therefore we need excellent sea services, and we need the best possible airport with airlines flying reliably and safely to as many places around the British Isles and beyond as possible. And that's why I joined the Department of Infrastructure in part, because it's not been working for the last few years and we need to sort it.
Chris Thomas, MHK, just wonder what your thoughts are this. I mean, do we have a right to expect this? And in your experience, is the service that the airport and airlines offer, is it worse than it used to be? Is it better than it used to be? And again, do we have a right to expect a better service? We got a note in from EasyJet who said that they confirmed that Mr. Murphy's flight from Gatwick to the Isle of Man on the 8th of May was unable to land due to low visibility on the runway at the Isle of Man and returned to Gatwick, where the flight was cancelled. They go on with the old safety and well-being of the customers, highest priority, outside of our control, minimise disruption, rebook on the next available flight, all that sort of stuff. They understand that the alternative flight availability was limited on this route. You don't say. And we advise customers will be reimbursed for alternative forms of transport to continue their journey, and they've reimbursed Mr. Murphy. Sorry for the inconvenience. The thoughts of EasyJet, the thoughts of Mr. Murphy and Mr. Thomas. So what are your thoughts?
At Mountain View Innovation Centre, we're all about finding new, innovative ways to do things, and that extends to our food. Right now, we're looking for a catering partner to run our on-site Babbage's Bistro and Bar. With a unique revenue-sharing model, you pay no rents, no rates, and no energy bills. So, if you want the chance to really make your mark on the island's hospitality industry, hit the catering opportunity button at mvic.im and find out more.
It's the King Spa's 5th birthday, and with some amazing celebratory offers, we'll make you feel like royalty. Our unique new VIP card will let you celebrate our birthday year in style, with prestige access and a range of events, wellness weekday spas, afternoon teas and priority lunch bookings on Wednesdays and Fridays. Visit kingspa.im for all the details. The King Spa, King Edward Golf Club, Onken, celebrating 5 years of wellness.
Make Sunday special with the Manxman Sunday lunch on board the dining car, when you can enjoy a superb 3-course meal and train travel. The Manxman Sunday lunch is available on selected Sundays throughout the season, with special prices for children. So bring friends and family along as the dining car puts on its Sunday best. To book, call 697 457, or for menus, visit rail.im.
Sport has a new home on social media for Manx Radio, where you can keep up to date with all the latest sporting action on the Isle of Man. Our new dedicated Manx Radio Sports Facebook page is now live, bringing you all the latest sports news and features. So whether it's motorsport, FC Isle of Man, Manx football, rugby, hockey and much more besides. Make sure to like and follow Manx Radio Sport on Facebook for all the latest updates. On air and online, this is your home for sport on Ireland, the nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
22 minutes before 1. Barry's with us now. Hi, Barry.
Good afternoon, Andy. Thank you so much for letting me on. And thank you to Manx Radio for running the story. I was very impressed with the amount of coverage it got. I didn't expect it to get so much coverage. I just wanted to give a little update on it, really. There was just one little thing as well. The story, as it runs this morning, the subsidised side of the travel is only purely and simply to do with the steam packet for passengers who have no other way of getting back to the Isle of Man. It's a little bit sort of unclear, I think, possibly on the story. So if passengers need to take emergency steps to return to the Isle of Man, and the only way they can actually do it is on the Isle of Man steam packet, it's just really my thoughts, and it is just a thought. It's I'm not trying to push for anything. I'm just trying to raise a debate that if an individual, if a passenger can prove to an extent that they have been affected by delays, cancellations, etc., diversions at a UK airport, well, then maybe there's something more that the steam packet could do, bearing in mind that we are the public owners.
When you say something more they could do, specifically what?
Well, I see there's a lot missing from the story. I mean, the lady that interviewed me the other day, I mean, I think it was probably a 10 or 15-minute phone call. So I suppose that the bit that you would need for me would probably just simply be that my concern really is that not everybody will have access to high levels of funds to return to the airport in an urgent fashion, like I am lucky enough to do. I'm at that age. I have got a credit card, and I can press buttons fairly quickly. So this petition and everything I'm trying to do is really not as such about me. I'm a fairly kind of an agile kind of a fellow, but I just had concerns that there'd still be people, or there would have been people stuck there till Saturday that wouldn't have the option to book a car, to pay for a car, to pay for the steam packet, to put fuel into a car as I did. In actual fact, it was much more expensive even to travel by train. I actually put the fit. So that's the other thing I wanted to say to you. EasyJet, as of yet, have not reimbursed me any money. Customer services rang me yesterday. I can only assume that was probably on the back of the fact that Manx Radio possibly contacted me, because I wasn't expecting them to contact me, but they were very professional on the phone. The chap I spoke to, he has asked me for further explanation. They have now put my case and my concerns regarding not just myself but for also other passengers, and they've escalated it to a senior management level. But I can honestly say to you that I haven't had any money back, and he's trying to make a special case for me to get a refund purely and simply because of the story that I'm telling, that in order to get a hotel I had to just book a flight home, even though I had absolutely no intentions of going on that flight, because I had to get back here for an appointment on Wednesday. There was something else I wanted to speak to you as well about today, because I've been meaning to come on for a little while, but as you can probably tell, I have been off Ireland as well, which is the reason for the travel thing. But yes, and that's really all it is. I just haven't had a refund, and so the EasyJet are inaccurate there. They are trying to get me a refund, but they are still looking into the case. But I just wanted to thank anyone who looked at the petition. If somebody signed the petition, and it is just purely just to bring it back into the public domain, and that's all it is.
Okay.
And there's something else I wanted to speak to you about briefly, if I can as well.
By all means.
All right.
Yeah.
So. Again, I've been meaning to come on for a while. It's a beautiful sunny day. I'm looking out the window here, and the sun is shining. It's very warm. But, we cannot get away from the fact that in 6 weeks' time, the MUA are going to push up the price of our electricity bills. I have, whether you believe it or whether you not believe it, I've been lobbying pretty much continuously. I continue to lobby. I have another appointment set up with one MHK, possibly two this week. I'm waiting to get clarification on meeting another MHK possibly the following week. And I have spoken to another couple of politicians before I went away, and they're all backbench politicians. The ministers are aware of my concerns, and my concerns are simply this. It goes back to the Tynwald sitting again. I sound like a broken record, but you know what? To come to some kind of a fix on this, we can only go back in history and remember what was said. Now, I haven't got the exact wording, so I have to be fairly clear that I'm just working from memory. But in the Tynwald sitting back in January, the then a chair of the MUA, Mr. Johnson, said that in order for electricity prices to hold as they were at that time, that the price of wholesale gas would have to hold at around about 150 pence per therm. That was recorded in Hansard. That's not me making that up. That's a fact. Today, the price of wholesale gas is 74p per therm. So I think it's a nice little day to give you a little chat just to say that since that announcement was made, the price of wholesale gas has dropped by around about 50% per therm wholesale. It is a fact that Cura will do their half annual investigation into Archallagan Energy and their pricing in July. And I would probably wager a little £5 bet with anyone who wants to take it that the price of retail gas with Archallagan Energy will reduce in July of this year. I think that's a done. It has to be done based on the price of wholesale gas. Assuming that the buying has been done at the right time, we have to make the other assumption. But that's my guess that the price of retail gas will come down. But the question that I'm trying to, or the point that I'm trying to get to politicians is that we can no longer now ignore the fact that the gas market through Archallagan Energy is very, very highly regulated, and the pricing systems for the MUA with regards to electricity and probably to a lesser extent to do with water and sewage is probably as dark as the sewage. Nobody really seems to know what's going on anymore. We are told that we must pay more money in July. This is following a previous increase earlier on this year, and it is going to go up to 34 pence per kilowatt hour unit. And that's going to be horrendous if something isn't done about that coming into the winter. You see, it's very nice, and that you won't really notice it. Nobody will really notice it in July. But come the winter time, people are going to be so desperate here in this island. So it is just to make you aware that I am continuing to lobby in the background. I am trying to raise a debate in Tynwald. I am very aware that politicians listen to this show, and I am very aware, they need to be very aware that people like me will not go away. I have a nice little merry group in the back of what I do, with 3,000 people and members in my Facebook group that I administer. And these people are wanting answers, and we hope to get answers. And I hope that, just to let you go and let somebody else come in, that there has to be a time that there is a debate in Tynwald regarding future regulation of Manx utilities. I'm very aware that they have a debt to pay, but we all have to be aware of what the price of wholesale gas is at any given time, and the future pricing of retail gas really needs to be some way focused on what Manx utilities are buying wholesale gas at. We have to try and keep this simple and just again look for fairness. The Isle of Man sometimes, Andy, just doesn't seem like a fair place, and we just, consumers need to start demanding fairness, and that's just what I'm all about, just fairness.
All right.
That's what we need.
Barry, we appreciate it. Thanks for your time today, and thanks for bringing that to our attention, and let us know when EasyJet cough up. That'd be nice to know. Jed's with us. Hi, Jed.
I think we all appreciate Barry Murphy's efforts. He's fighting the corner of us all, and you've got to wonder why we don't get any MHKs speaking out loud about such an injustice. We've got to think why, the MHKs seem to be hiding away at such important issues. So fair play to Barry, and I hope, that's recognised by the Manx public. He really is a crusader on that front.
Well, I mean, the Manx Utilities, it's a government organisation. They buy the gas down the Irish pipeline, so it's our gas. It'd be nice to know where the pricing rationale comes from.
Well, we're just greeted with the wall of silence amongst a number of issues, and in the last week or so with the business regarding ransom, where nobody's really discussing how many people are out there who've suffered injustice, with their employment and issues where perhaps their careers have been terminated when they haven't had the means to take on the Attorney Generals or take on a tribunal.
Well, I think underneath all this, Jed, is that, Rosalind Ranson, Dr. Ranson, was lucky, that she had obviously some legal knowledge in the family, and also the fact that the BMA, her union, stepped in and funded the case.
Well, it's ironic that Julie Edge has raised the point about the whistleblowing inquiry, which I think happened in the last term, where there would have been a lot of anecdotal reports. I think they put a huge paper together about where personnel in the Manx government had been stitched up or lost their jobs or what have you. And it really does beg the question of what happened, to those testimonies and how those people should be dealt with. Has the Isle of Man government got the bottle to perhaps open up the record books and look at other people who've had their careers trashed?
Can you imagine,
just like Dr. Ranson?
That's right. Can you imagine the amount of talent that's been lost by, even if it's only 50% of the people who've been, let's put it politely, sidelined? Even if only 50% of them, were justified, that means we've lost an awful lot of talented people who had, the interests of the public service at heart. They wanted to do the right thing.
Well, this is it, and maybe that door could open, but it really takes a brave politician to step forward and really ask that question. But that's not why I called. It was really about EasyJet and the knock-on effect, the likes of, say, businesses on the Isle of Man, such as hotels and service providers, who may have had a group of tourists, due to visit, and they've had to cancel a holiday. And really the repercussions of that go on because, this spend that tourists bring to the island is essential. And the reputation of our airport and the fact that people, might be put off committing to a holiday purely because they might not be able to get here.
Well, we end up looking a bit silly, don't we? I mean, Barry Murphy's point about people who live here is one thing, and it's important, but as you quite said, we have international businesses, multinationals based on the Isle of Man, and people like that have flown all over the world, and suddenly you can't get to an island in the middle of the British Isles because of some fog and mist. You would have thought that in these days, in 2023, you'd have technology to deal with that.
Well, something so simple, say, as a golf holiday. I'm currently dealing with a refund at the moment from the debacle that was the Belfast flight last week, and that's where I got a phone message from the guy who's a golfer. They'd planned this golf tour for months and months, and they're looking forward to it. A lot of, chat about how good it was going to be, and they're on the tarmac at Belfast Airport, and he messages me and says the pilot reckons he's not going to be able to land here, and that's before they've taken off. So they leave Belfast, and it's only a 20-minute hop, and of course they circle around the island, and you're waiting at the airport, and then eventually they go back, and then due to Belfast not having the daily flights, The next one was Wednesday. They explored every possible option to get here, but they said, no, we'll bin it. We're not going to be able to come. And then you start thinking, oh, gosh, well, they've paid for this, they've paid for that. And it's a right trawl, to gather it all back. But it's not just, about my little, business. That's nothing. You look at it right across the board, right across the spectrum of the Isle of Man tourism offering. How much damage and how much revenue is being missed here?
Well, as you say, I mean, let's be honest. That will eat into your margins, which is never good at any time. But also reputationally, the fact, as you say, Belfast's a 20-minute hop. Surely something can be done somewhere with technology, and we don't just look at each other and just smile. It can't. Surely that something has to be done, Jed.
Well, what struck me was that the pilot called it before they left the tarmac in Belfast, as though we were going to go for a sightseeing tour above the clouds, and they weren't going to land anyway. So that does ask some questions. I'm sure anyone who's into the green agenda will think, well, hang on, we've just had tons of airline fuel spewed out all over our skies. But that's another story. It just sounds like a bit of a farce, and it's unfortunate. And the knock-on, it really does leave a bad taste.
All right. Jed, thanks for calling today.
Thank you.
All right, 8 minutes before 1 on Mannin Line on Manx Radio.
Right. I say, when you're looking for the perfect bathroom, get your silly walk over to Pacesetter, where you'll get friendly help and advice on bathrooms that will work for you. From practical, accessible bathrooms for aging users to the ultimate in luxury designs with walk-in showers and wet rooms, with no inquisitions, dead birds or hard sell. You'll always be on the bright side of life when you see the stunning range on display at Pacesetter Tile and Bathroom Studio, Harris Terrace, Douglas, or search online for Pacesetter Douglas.
The only thing worse than the agony of toothache is the agony of waiting days to get it treated. Not anymore. Tracy Bell in Douglas and Castletown offers same-day or next-day emergency appointments from £95, whether you're registered with us or not. Toothache, broken teeth, fractured dentures, 7 days a week, Tracy Bell's dentist can help you. For emergency appointments, call 613323 or 494 327 out of hours, and we'll take the pain away.
Cancer Research UK's Relay for Life is back. Don't miss your chance to honour everyone who's been affected by cancer and the progress made in research. Unite with family and friends, set your team fundraising goal and join a celebration of community fundraising. Search Relay for Life Isle of Man and enter for free today. The Relay for Life, 26th August at the National Sports Centre. Your chance to help beat cancer.
Want to make a real difference to your home or workplace energy bills? The team at EMS Home Green have 30 years experience supplying and installing solar power and thermal systems, air and ground source heat pumps and battery storage. A complete one-stop eco-shop finding practical solutions to help you save money from day one. Call 613-210 or visit ems.co.im to arrange your no-obligation survey. EMS Home Green, for your greener home.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
And Val. Hi, Val.
Hello there. Just a quick one on the EasyJet. I was flying back to the island last Tuesday evening, the 5 to 7 flight, and initially it was held up half an hour, quote, bad weather, because it was raining in London. Well, you don't think rain was a problem. It had been foggy in the island early, but it was clear. Anyway, we were on, and they said there's a backlog and we'd have to wait a while. It might be up to an hour. And then they said, we've now got 10 people who want to get off the plane or something, or not getting on the plane, and they want to offload their luggage, which seemed a bit bizarre. Now, obviously, these people perhaps hadn't got on the flight, but anyway, so we waited a while longer. Then they said they'd have to wait to get permission from the Isle of Man because, it'd be closing early. Well, there's already a flight going out from the island to Gatwick. Anyway, eventually at about 9:05, we took off. But it was hysterical. I mean, have you ever heard of anybody where 10 people have decided they're not going to go on a trip to the island?
Crikey.
Anyway, that's supposedly what happened last Tuesday evening. Now, I'm presuming they didn't actually get on the plane. I don't know. Then they did ask for some luggage because some chap who sounded like a Polish name, he did go down forward, so I don't know what that was about either. But anyway, there you go. And but they said they had to get permission to keep the island airport open.
Presumably that was that'd be
already going to turn round.
That might be availability of air traffic controllers. We don't quite know. What was the atmosphere like?
People were quite patient, really, but some of them have been on the previous day's flight, which had been cancelled. So it isn't doing us any favours, is it, really? But there we go.
Okay, Val, thanks.
Nice enough.
All right.
Thank you. Have a
good to
day.
hear from you. Thanks for that. Well, that's the situation. If you've got any more Gatwick or Heathrow or London City woes to air, then by all means get in touch. Regarding the MDC development, the Manx Development Corporation development and parking, Julie said, I went to see the public viewing a few months ago. I was surprised to see all the parking available. In fact, it's the same as the parking available on the flat site just below the Brown Bobby. It's making an eyesore better for everybody. If you don't want to live there, nobody's making anybody buy a property. This is the way forward regarding green issues that people harp on about. Just my thoughts. Everybody's entitled to. And so are you, Julie. Thanks for that today. I did mention they counted the wallabies. Who's counted the wallabies? The Manx Wildlife Trust have got the Manx Wildlife Consultancy to go and count the wallabies. How many wallabies do you think there are? They carried 2 surveys across 400 hectares at Balafcurrock over 2 consecutive nights. 568 wallabies they counted. 568 wallabies. As the survey site included was surrounding agricultural land, it's thought the density may be higher when the wallabies retreat to the ASS, the Area of Specific Scientific Interest, during the day. If you want more information, go to Manx Wildlife Trust website. It's mwt.im. 568 wallabies. All from one pair. I know what you're thinking. That's it. Back with another open line tomorrow. What a gorgeous day. Get outside and enjoy it. Stick around. Christy's on the way after the news at 1.
WINT